Hello, my friends. Today, the situation on the front remains extremely difficult with no decrease in Russian activity, but Trump has made some shocking statements. I'm sure everyone already knows that Zelensky refused to sign the agreement with the US regarding natural resources, saying the figures in the deal were highly inflated. Trump responded to this by claiming that Zelensky doesn't even know where the money has gone.
Something happened. And the other thing that it's been bothering me for a long time because I solved the problem with NATO. They paid hundreds of billions of dollars into the funds of NATO when I said you got to pay because the United States was paying for European countries, and then they take advantage of us on trade. But I've seen it. Look, we have to. They have to pay. They have to find out where's the money going to. We have, I believe, President Zelensky said.
Overall, Trump continues to stand by his position. He also confirmed that he wants to remove Zelensky from office and said that if Ukraine wants a seat at the negotiation table, election must be held. We have a situation where there haven't been elections in Ukraine because of martial law, and the approval rating of Ukraine's leader, hate to say this, has dropped to 4%. The country is completely destroyed, cities are in ruins, buildings have collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site. Well, they didn't do this to Kyiv, probably saving missiles, but if they wanted to, it wouldn't be 20% of the country occupied, it would be 100%. I think if we are talking about negotiations, then the Ukrainian people should decide hey, we haven't had elections in a while. It's not Russia telling Ukraine to hold elections, this is coming from me and other countries as well. Friends, these statements are shocking and show that Trump has effectively taken Putin's side. And then he said that Ukraine will have to pay back the aid it previously received, no matter what. Biden was completely incompetent. Ukraine will have to pay or figure out where the US money went. I personally like Zelensky, he's a good guy, but personally I don't care. The Ukrainian leadership allowed this war to continue. Russia is capable of completely destroying Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv, but it doesn't want to do that. I could meet with Putin by the end of the month. There is more destruction in Ukraine than in Gaza, but the Russians are attacking only 20% of Ukraine, not 100. As we can see, after talks with Russia, Trump has taken their side and is now effectively working against Ukraine. With these statements, he isn't pressuring Russia, he is pressuring Ukraine. This is a complete political failure, and the big question now is how to handle the situation without losing the country. Friends, what do you think about all of this? Don't stay silent. Share your thoughts in the comments. Ukraine's fate is being decided today. Meanwhile, the battles on the front lines continue, so let's start with the Pokrovsk sector. Here, the Russians keep storming Udachne, and fighting is ongoing near Kotliny. According to preliminary reports, Ukrainian forces are still launching counterattacks there, but they haven't managed to fully clear the village yet. The Russians are also trying to regain control over Pishane. A few days ago, they managed to reclaim one position, but there haven't been any further advances so far. Additionally, fighting continues for Chunishine, Lysivka, the village of Promень, Myrolюбівка, and Yelizavetivka. Despite the high number of attacks, there have been no changes along the front line in the past 24 hours. Ukrainian forces on the ground describe the situation as follows. We've made some slight advances near Kotlin. We'll wait a bit to make sure everything goes smoothly, no need to rush. Took out a lot of them. As for Pishane, our forces control the eastern tree lines. In the industrial zone, our troops are no longer present, but we have visual confirmation that the Russians are moving freely there. Right now, the village is a gray zone. The Russians also continue shelling, and every day more rockets and drones are striking Pokrovsk. In the direction of Kurakhove, the Russians are storming Constantinople, trying to fully capture Ulakli and shelling Oleksiivka and the village of Bohotyr. Reports from Ukrainian forces on the ground indicate that not everyone managed to withdraw from Ulakli. Unfortunately, not everyone made it out of Ulakli. There were casualties and prisoners. This could have been prevented if an order to withdraw from the trap had been given in time, but that didn't happen because General Tarnavsky, as the commander of the Donetsk Operational Tactical Group, needed to report good news up the chain that we are holding everything there. But in reality, control over the situation was lost about 2 weeks ago, and things have only gotten worse. And here is the question: if the operational situation after losing part of Andreevka pointed to the possibility of encirclement, why did the command refuse to evacuate the garrison? Why was the situation allowed to turn into a disaster? As we can see, Ukrainian forces are not just retreating, but doing so with losses, which significantly weakens their overall defense. In the direction of Velika Novosilka, the Russians are not slowing down their attacks. Assaults on Novochertovate continue. They are pushing toward Burlatsk, and fighting is ongoing near the villages of Novosilka and Novopil. However, there have been no changes in positions over the past 24 hours. In the Zaporizhia direction, the Russians are storming Sherbaki, attempting to break through near Nesteryanka. However, there have been no changes in the positions over the past 24 hours as Ukrainian forces successfully repel all attacks. In the Kherson direction, all Russian offensive actions have ceased. However, shelling of the right bank continues with no changes in the situation over the past day. Additionally, Russian forces carried out strikes on Odessa, reportedly targeting an area near a hospital. As a result, several districts of the city are experiencing power outages. Now moving to the Toretsk direction. Here, the Russians have temporarily reduced the activity, but are still attempting to break through near the slag heap area. However, there have been no changes over the past day as Ukrainian forces continue to repel all attacks. In the Chasiv Yar direction, fighting for the central part of the city continues, along with ongoing shelling. However, there is little activity on the flanks, and the front line remains unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Siversk direction, fighting is currently recorded only in Bilohorivka. No other offensive actions have been observed, and the front line remains unchanged. Meanwhile, in the Liman direction, Russian forces are assaulting Yampolivka and Zarichne, despite Russian claims that Yampolivka is under their control. The Ukrainian side hasn't confirmed this information, and the front line remains unchanged. We will continue to monitor how the situation develops. In the Borova direction, Russian forces are advancing toward Boguslavka and Shalin Borova. However, overall activity remains slow further south near Grekivka. The situation remains calm, no new Russian attacks, and the front line is unchanged. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian troops are assaulting Petropavlivka, Novoosinovo, and Glushkivka. With increased activity in this sector, their goal is to push closer to Kupiansk and align the front line along the river, but they have made no progress as Ukrainian forces continue to repel all attacks. However, near Dvorichna, Russian forces recently made gains, capturing two villages and advancing in the area. No new assaults have been reported for now, but Russian troops attempted an attack on the village of Topoli near the border. Ukrainian forces managed to hold their defenses, and there have been no changes in the past 24 hours. In the Kharkiv direction, the situation remains relatively calm. Russian forces continue shelling but are not conducting offensive operations. Meanwhile, fighting in Vovchansk persists, but the front line remains unchanged. In the Kursk direction, Russian activity remains slow and they have made no gains, keeping the front line stable. It's quite remarkable that the large Russian army is unable to reclaim even its own territory and continues to suffer heavy losses in futile assaults. Meanwhile, Zelensky said that victory in this war cannot be achieved through weapons and that diplomacy must be pursued.
Weapons on the battlefield in this war will
Оружием на
not
поле
defeat
боя в
either
этой
side.
войне не победит ни одна
Russia
из
wanted
сторон.
this, but
Россия
couldn't
этого
achieve it,
хотела, но не
and they didn't
смогла, а в
believe in
Украину не
Ukraine,
верили,
but
но она это
Ukraine proved them
доказала
wrong.
и отстояла свою
Ukraine
независимость.
defended its
Очень непросто и
independence.
высокой ценой.
It wasn't
Жизнью
easy,
своих
and it
воинов,
came at a high
своих
price.
людей. Это говорит о
The
том,
lives
что
of its
переход к
soldiers and its
дипломатии
people.
должен быть, но этот путь
This
должен
suggests that a
привести к
transition to
справедливому
diplomacy
миру.
is
Если
necessary.
действительно есть добрая
But this
воля
path must
закончить
lead
эту
to a
войну,
just
а я
peace.
не верю, что Путин
If
этого
there is
хочет.
truly a
Но если
willingness
есть
to end the
добрая
war,
воля,
and I
тогда
don't
должен
believe
прежде
Putin
всего
wants that.
произойти обмен
But
пленными.
if there is goodwill,
Во-вторых,
then
Украина
first of all,
должна знать,
there
от
must be
кого
an exchange of
действительно ждать
prisoners.
гарантий безопасности,
Secondly,
кто может
Ukraine
их
must
дать
know
и
who
кто
can truly
действительно
provide
их
security
предоставит.
guarantees,
Это не
who can
только
give
о
them,
доброй
and who
воле,
can actually
но и о
implement them.
силе стран. Для
This is
того,
not
чтобы
just
не было
about
шанса
goodwill, but
повтора
the
этой
strength of
страшной войны.
countries,
И не потому, что
to
Украина
ensure that there is
боится
no
российской
chance of this
армии и
terrible war
повторной
repeating itself.
оккупации, а потому что при
Not
любой
because
войне
Ukraine
будут
fears the
снова
Russian
жертвы,
army and
большое
reoccupation, but
количество
because
жертв.
every war
Мы
brings more
этого не хотим,
victims.
и мы не хотим
More
прогнозировать их
casualties.
количество.
We don't
Потому
want
что
that,
каждый
and we don't
человек
want to
важен,
predict the
и
number of
поэтому для
casualties,
Украины
because
важны
every life is
гарантии
important.
безопасности. Сегодня
Therefore,
Европа,
security
страны
guarantees
НАТО,
are crucial for
Соединенные
Ukraine.
Штаты, безусловно,
Today,
могли бы
Europe,
предоставить
NATO
Украине эту
countries,
надежду,
and the
веру в
US could
сильные
undoubtedly
гарантии
provide Ukraine
безопасности,
with that
веру
hope,
в то, что
that belief
Украина
in
станет
strong
членом
security
НАТО. Но от
guarantees, and the
Соединенных
belief
Штатов
that
мы
Ukraine
сегодня
will
такой
become a NATO
поддержки не
member.
слышим. Знаем,
But
что
we are
они
not
и еще
hearing such
несколько
support from the
европейских
US
партнеров не
today.
поддерживают
We
членство
know they,
Украины в
along with
НАТО.
several
Я
European
считаю, что это
partners, do
большое
not
желание
support
России,
Ukraine's
оно
NATO
совпадает
membership.
с этим результатом.
I
Тогда
believe this is
остаются гарантии
exactly what Russia
безопасности,
wants, and
которые
it
могут
aligns with this
действовать,
outcome.
сильная украинская
Then,
армия и
security
возможное
guarantees that could be effective remain, a strong
Оружием на
Ukrainian
поле боя
army,
в
and
этой
possibly
войне
the
не
presence of
победит ни
troops
одна
from
из
other
сторон.
European
Россия
countries,
этого
the
хотела, но
US,
не
and our
смогла, а в
partners.
Украину не верили.
What do you think about this? Be sure to leave your opinion in the comments. Lavrov stated that they are against the introduction of NATO troops into Ukraine's territory.
The appearance of troops from NATO countries, but under another flag, under the European Union flag, under national flags, changes nothing in this regard. Of course, this is unpleasant for us.
As we can see, Russia, which attacked Ukraine and is essentially on the verge of defeat, now feels like the winner and is setting its demands. As it appears, Trump fully supports them. What do you think about these events? Be sure to leave your opinion in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.